Now that All Stars 11 is done, and there has been a lot of comparisons to All Stars 11 and 10 being very similar, and it being, what fans call it, rigged for a certain queen, it got me thinking about how often does Drag Race tend to, I guess you could say, rig a season for a queen. Rig, show favoritism, whichever way you kind of want to look at it. Because oftentimes there's been a saying that a season was made for a certain queen, but sometimes I think maybe, or as the season goes on, things start to change, because I do think maybe the first two seasons of All Stars have that feeling of, oh, it was made for Chad to win All Stars 1, it was made for Alaska to win All Stars 2, and then maybe All Stars 5 for Shay. However, all the other seasons, I don't think it was as egregious as, oh, it was made for this queen. More so, I just think of how did certain challenges, as far as what types of challenges they were presented, and the judging within those challenges that really push for this queen to probably win. Because I do think All Stars 1, Chad wasn't pushed to win. I think the challenges that her and Chanel won as a team, they did deserve those wins. I think the only one that people maybe feel a type of way is the girl group one. But I just think they were just the cleanest. They were the cleanest group performing, and that, won good points, especially back then. Not if they were having like fun like Yara and Alexis were with Kelly Osbourne. I just think it was fun. It was clean. It was a good group. Like, you couldn't deny that was an actually good girl group performance. And then the same thing for All Stars 2. And okay, so I think a big part in what makes a season feel rigged for a queen is when they get questionable wins and questionable placements. Questionable wins, did they really deserve that win? This is not discounting that they did good, but it's kind of like, okay, but were you the best? And then questionable placements, that's more so you should have been up for elimination, or at the most in the bottom, and you weren't. You were either safe or high, but usually those are the queens who are safe. So again, Chad to me didn't have any questionable wins. I mean, look, they were in the bottom the first episode, deservedly so, and then they never placed low to me the rest of the season. Same thing for All Stars 2. Like, I don't think any of Alaska's wins were not deserved. Now, lip sync wins, yeah. I don't think she won every lip sync she did, but still. Now, All Stars 3. All Stars 3 is probably the weirdest season, because there were so many things to happen for the winner to win that it makes it hard to feel like, oh, they always wanted it to be Trixie, because nobody made Ben quit. She definitely was going to win, but she quit on her own. And then, the producers, and, we saw how the queens voted. They didn't say for anyone to vote for Shangela, because at the time everyone was like, okay, well, not Ben, then Shangela. She's clearly the second best behind Ben, and now that Ben's gone and Shangela is still doing great, she's clearly got to be the one. And so, they took out the element for that to have happened. And it's really one of those, I don't know what the producers were trying to do with having a jury twist at the end. This was before they started the Rate a Queen, where queens got to have a bit of a say on placements. In fact, this was way before Rate a Queen. So it's like, I don't know what they were trying to do with that. I don't know if they were trying to make it so that Trixie got to be top two. I mean, the thing is, Rue was going to choose. Rue was not going to have 4 go. At the most, she might have done a top 3 like they did All Stars 2, but she was going to pick. So if she wanted it to be Trixie, I do feel like Trixie would have been top 2 or top 3 regardless. So I don't know. It's really weird because Trixie herself didn't get a winner's edit. She was safe a lot. She wasn't really shown, and she was in the bottom when she was supposed to be, like Snatch Game. So I don't know. Like, it's weird. I don't know what the vibe was going on for All Stars 3 and the winner that we got and the way that we got her as a winner. Now, All Stars 4, same thing. There was no pushing for a win because I think Monet and Trinity, they both won, were low where they deserved to be. So we've got that. Now, All Stars 5, to me, this is where there's pushing starting. It goes to me, it doesn't start 1 through 4, it starts for 5 because I do heavily believe in that feeling of All Stars 5 was made for Shea to win. It's kind of like whatever season Shea was going to be on, she was going to win that season. And I think the fact that All Stars 5, next to All Stars 8, has probably I don't know how to say this, because the queens that were cast were not heavy hitters. The previous All-Stars had a lot of heavy hitters. You had a lot of finalists. You had a lot of high-placing winning queens. And All-Stars 5 really did not have that. I think the only queens that could have shown potential, like, okay, fight, would have been Alexis. But even Alexis might have felt questionable because it had been so long since she had come back. With All Stars 5, and then I don't feel like we saw as much of her as we had done. Like, we had always been seeing Latrice, we had always been seeing Manila. So when we saw them in All Stars 5, it didn't feel like a surprise like that because it's like, well, we've been seeing these queens and what they've been doing. Alexis, not so much. And then, of course, Juju. But then again, Juju just felt like why not bring her back because she had never won anything. So, of course, we wouldn't have known that she was going to do so great as she did. But just coming in, it didn't feel like, competition-wise, because she had never won challenges. She makes it far every time, but it wasn't because of challenge wins. It kind of was because she could lip sync her way there because she would win lip syncs, so that was it. And then, so now thinking out loud, I guess the only other person to Shea could have been Cracker because Cracker had actually done well on All Stars 10 and she did win a challenge. And even though someone like Mayhem also won a challenge, she didn't last long and she didn't do well again after that. So it wasn't a sense of, oh, well, just like Cracker. No, Cracker always did well. Mayhem did not, and she did not go very far. So just looking at the cast, that already felt like, okay, what are y'all doing? And, things unfolded as they did. I do think the fact that they took out the lip sync for your life. No, they took out the top 2 and then they brought in a lip sync assassin. And the fact that took them away other queens getting more wins, that was kind of like, okay. Because Juju for sure could have had way more wins. Alexis could have had a win. And it would have been shared with Shea. Now, Shea winning the girl group was deserved. She also deserved being in the bottom. I think that was the next week from that design hotel room challenge. But her winning the Snatch Game, I already saw it on the wall in that moment because her winning Snatch Game, she did great. Like, I'm not going to say she didn't do a good job. She did do great, but she, for me, was easily second or third. Juju and her Eartha Kitt, that was amazing. And Alexis, I can't remember the person she played, but she did a great job. So those three, and of course, if they had the top two again, one of them would have been up there. Whether it was with Shay or without Shay, one of them would have also gotten a win, most likely Juju. And I always see this Snatch Game win argued because it's one of those, like, I don't remember what Shay did as Flava Flav. I remember a lot of what Juju did. And the fact that there's been so many Eartha Kitt's played and everyone always goes back to Juju's, and I love it. And what saw the writing on the wall for me that, oh, this is pushing for Shay, was the fact that on top of her winning Snatch Game, to me, she didn't have the best one. Her rose petal prom look, which she kept tying back to what happened on season 9, which I personally felt she was milking quite a bit throughout that season on All Stars. And it's like, we get it, the rose petals. But I didn't like that look. It looked weird. It didn't look cute. Juju had that cute 80s prom look. It was so pretty. So, and the judges were gushing. I think it was Ross. Someone had gushed about, oh, I love that and what you're doing with that story. And it's like, okay, but it still needs to look nice, and it doesn't look nice. So in that moment, I was like, all right, y'all are pushing for Shay to win, giving her this win that she didn't really deserve. So here we go. So to me, All Stars 5 was Shay. All Star 6, the thing about Kylie's only challenge win was, it's one of those, if producers had waited, because I really feel like they did want the winner to be Kylie. I do feel like they did want it to be her at that point. However, by the time her win came, she didn't have any wins yet. Everyone else was getting wins, almost like, except for her, who could have been a potential to win the crown. I think Jan was already knocked out of the potential. I think Akira, I think probably Eureka, and there was somebody, Pandora. Everybody else who had potential, like Trinity, Raja, Ginger, they had wins. So it's kind of like Kylie needed to catch up. And she didn't deserve that win, because the fact that Michelle had to, like, show her exactly what to do, which usually gets queens kind of knocked down to points of at least being safe. And then her performance was still okay. But it's like, if y'all would have just waited to Snatch Game and given her that win, because the fact that Ginger got 2 wins that I didn't agree with her having. First was the pink tabletop. She wasn't in the winning group. In fact, if anything, she was in the worst performing group, and her role, I think, was the moderator. It's like, you didn't even try to help your group. You just took care of yourself, and everyone, oh well. And her Snatch Game win, that should have been Kylie's win. It was so great. I think about her accent. I think about her look. I think about her doing her nails the way that Dolly did, like playing them like you would like a guitar. I don't remember anything that Ginger did. So it's kind of weird. It's like, if Ginger won that season, I definitely would have felt like that was pushed for Ginger to win, especially because her coming back felt the most off. At least with the past queens that were coming back for their second All-Stars, they were all from All-Stars 1. And everyone has kind of collectively agreed that all of those queens deserve another chance because they were done dirty. And I think everyone has come back to recompete after All Stars won, except for Tammy and Nina. But I don't think those two will ever come back. So it made sense, but Ginger's did not. And that excuse of she wasn't in the right headspace when she did All Stars 2, that's not our fault. That ain't that. So what? There are more queens who deserve either their first chance or a second chance before you, and your excuse does not make sense. But she didn't win. It was Kylie who won. And it's just kind of like I don't see it as much of a push as All Stars 5 with Shay. Again, if it was Ginger who won, I would have. But the fact that they were clearly, to me, the fact that they were trying to get her to catch up and they gave her that win then instead of maybe waiting for All Stars, not All Stars, for Snatch Game. Kind of like you could have gotten a better deserved win that would have felt like, all right, this is the right win. All Star 7, the only push Jinx got was the lip sync edit with her and Monet. To me, that season should not have been heavily based on the final four lip sync battle. They should have pushed from the beginning that while the top four badge earning queens would do the lip sync battle, we're also taking into account how you're doing the entire season. Especially with them being winners, you really should have like emphasized to them like, hey, the whole package is about to matter. You are winners. You should do well the entire time. Your runway should be well the entire time. And whenever you get to lip sync, which in this case was for the win, it should be for the entire, those should be good as well. So if they had made that point at the beginning instead of trying to last minute voiceover edit that in when it was shown that clearly Jinx lost, I don't think, nobody contends that Jinx should not have won, especially given how well she is doing with her win. It's just, it would have felt much more satisfied if they had made that a point of we're taking into like from the beginning, because maybe maybe the queens would have done better. Okay. I don't want to say that none of those queens did a good job. I really loved All Star 7. It was a really great season, but who knows? Sometimes, and we saw this with All Stars 9, sometimes when queens don't feel like there's a lot at stake, they're not going to try as hard. So who knows? So I only think if they had just made that point from the beginning of we're looking at everything, then the way that they did the final moment in the crowning episode would have been different. All Stars 8, there's again push, because the biggest push, and I saw like, it's when I think of push for a queen in Riggs, in that moment I'm already like, you know what, I would be so surprised if this queen didn't win based on what they're doing in this moment. That's how I felt with Shay, with her Snatch Game win, and that's how I felt with Jimbo when she wasn't in the bottom for the Rusical episode, because she honestly did the worst in that episode. Everyone did amazing. She did the worst. Now, her runway wasn't the worst, but her performance was, and she should have been in the bottom. I think she and I guess instead of, because I thought that Kahana did a really great job, and I think her runway was really good, whereas James, her performance was okay. But when you look at the fact that she had the least compared to everyone else, it's like, yeah, I would probably perform okay too. And then, of course, she did have the worst runway. So then it should have been James and Jimbo then. But obviously, they did not want to repeat from Versus the World UK, where Jimbo was in the bottom the first time. Again, same type of deal. A performance in a Rusical, and she went home. Now, I don't know if, that would have happened. Maybe, maybe not. But she should have been in the bottom. She should not have been safe. That should have been her bottom two placement. So the fact that that wasn't the case, that I was already like, all right, so Jimbo's gonna win for sure. And again, this season, like All Stars 5, had a very low performing group of queens because most of them were early outs, between first and maybe third out. Most of them had not won a challenge, even if they made it pretty decent. And so it's kind of like Jimbo was the only one who had done well before, who wasn't in the bottom a lot before. Because it's like with Jimbo, she would be in the bottom once and was out from Canada, down versus the world. So yeah, so that for me was like, okay. Now All Stars 9. Well, we definitely thought Angie was winning in the beginning, but then midway through, it became this is Roxy's to win. And it wasn't as if either of those two queens were given placements or wins that they did not deserve. It's more so the way the editing went, because everything was in our face about Angie at first, but then, or I should say Angeria, but then by midway, especially when they got to the lip sync SmackDown episode, then it was Roxy. And Roxy took over the rest of the season as far as the attention, her wins, or her placing. So it's really hard to say with All Stars 9 if it felt like it was made for Roxy or Angeria. It's more so the questionable editing, which has nothing to do with them, of course, but it's like, why did y'all switch up? And it didn't seem to make sense. Now, All Stars 10 and 11 have the biggest examples of a season being rigged / made for a queen. And I think this, and because it's now happened twice, it's going to make us look at the next All Stars a certain way, because All Stars 10 and 11 had the most episodes, or I should say challenges, really geared towards the two winners' strengths. And especially since the tournament bracket format really allows the producers to pick and choose the types of challenges those queens in the brackets get to participate in. Now, in Drag Race, we always expect a performance of some sort, like a girl group challenge. We expect there to be some type of design, whether it is a makeover or they, actually design an outfit from scratch. We expect for there to be some type of comedy challenge. Now, the comedy challenge can be in the form of an improv, or it could be like an actual scripted bit. And I feel like recently now we do expect for there to be some type of branding challenge where it's not necessarily improv, where they don't have a script, but they make the script. So it's kind of like the queen's own personal creativity is in their hands, and it's not in the hands of a whoever wrote the script, whoever made you do this. It's like, well, you have no one else to maybe blame but yourself in a way. And I guess in a bit comedy, whether it is a roast, or they haven't done an actual stand-up routine in quite a while. They've done more roast nowadays. I do miss the stand-ups. Like, I think about All Stars 6. Not All Stars, season 6, with like Bianca, Trinity. Like, that one was so funny. They don't really do stand-ups anymore. They do roasts. But those are the types of challenges we come to expect from Drag Race. And so because the queens now doing these brackets are given 3, at least in their bracket, 3 episodes, 3 different challenges, they can really gear which queens do which types of challenges based on what they've seen of their strengths. So the fact that Ginger in her bracket, all three were very much geared to what we know Ginger to be. Even though we know Ginger doesn't design, she's never done well with that. The fact that they had to have this writing comedic element to it, which the judges clearly seemed to take into more account, that's what gave her that first win. Even though Ginger is not known to be a great girl group performer, we know Ginger is a country type of queen. We hear it in her voice and her accents all the time. She's not going to be a fierce performer, but like, say, how we would expect Kylie to do. But for her, we would expect something kind of country twang. I mean, we saw this for her to get to do for All Star 6. And now in her bracket, they did a girl group and it was country. And then, of course, they did the improv with the dogs. And that one she did do really great in. But, of course, that was hers. The other two brackets, they didn't really have... There wasn't challenges that felt necessarily that specific for one certain queen like that. So, yeah. And then when they merge, they do Snatch Game, which Ginger has always done well in, and she still did well. And then the talent show, the last talent show that Ginger did, she was, I think, in the top or safe. Like, she did good. And, Ginger's a decent performer, so they kind of would expect for her to do well no matter what her talent would have been. And then you look at Crystal for All Stars 11. Crystal didn't have to do challenges that she was shown to fail in, which is hilarious to me, because the fact that they did not have a Snatch Game and Crystal did horrible in her Snatch Game, to me kind of says something. I don't know if Crystal does well with designing, but she didn't have to do any like a design make challenge. Now, makeover, yeah. Now, she didn't do well for her makeover, but we knew that she'd done really well for her makeover her last time there. She got to do a branding challenge, which she had done really well in before. So already these two seasons are showing, oh yeah, I already said about Snatch Game. Crystal didn't have to do Snatch Game. So it's like, okay, y'all are setting these queens up to win to the point where we're not expecting. Now, All Stars 10 is a little bit different than All Stars 11, because the biggest thing with All Stars 10 is the fact that that was Ginger's fourth time. It really felt like there's no way she isn't winning. And a little bit can also be said about Georgia's at least making it far, because not only was this her third time, she just was on the previous All-Star. So it's like, how in the world are we supposed to look at least these two queens? And most, if I'm not mistaken, I think most of the other queens, this was their first time coming to All Stars. But you've got this fourth timer. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's going to make it far, if not win. And look what happened. Same thing with, and so what I say is different with All Stars 11 is the fact that now, more than All Stars 10, you had two queens where this was their fourth time competing, with Silky and Kennedy. And then you also had two queens who this is their third time, Akira and Morgan. And so already from the jump, you knew that those four queens were going to, essentially move on into the merge. But it really felt like, well, as much as everyone knew that, say, Rue really enjoyed Crystal, the fact that you've got Crystal's first time coming to All Stars, and then you've got Kennedy and Silky, this is their fourth time. It really felt like, all right, well, which one? Is it going to be Silky or is it going to be Kennedy? Because it's obviously got to be one of them. One of them. And I kind of had my money on it being Silky, only because when I compare what happened with Kennedy and Silky with Canada, because that was both their third time when they did the separate Canada versus the world, everyone really thought that Silky was going to win Canada. But Raja won. Raja's win felt as a makeup for her not winning All Star 6. So if you kind of look at that pattern, it felt more like, okay, well, this might be Silky's. And then especially since Kennedy was eliminated right from the beginning of the merge, it's like, all right, well, this is clearly going to be Silky's. And it wasn't until the talent show when Crystal won again that I switched to thinking it could have been Silky, because Silky was still seen at the top for the talking monologue challenge. So I still wasn't convinced yet that this was going to be Crystal's rig moment, because I did think that her 2 wins from her bracket she did deserve, even though she didn't perform the best from her duo performance. The fact that they the fact that they judged us as teams, yeah, they were the best team overall. And then to me, she did do the best for the branding challenge. So yeah, she got her 2 wins there. But and I did think she did deserve her lip sync win, which got her an extra point. So those I didn't have a problem with. It was coming into the merge. And yeah, the fact that I didn't agree with her winning the monologue. I so thought that should have been Joey. And then what tipped me over was her winning the talent show. She did not do good. It was boring. It was sloppy. The costume looked ugly. It wasn't nice looking. It looked very DIY. And she won. And I just watched that and I thought, oh my God, we're doing this again. You know, it's nice that they're not choosing the obvious one because they're coming back after 4 or 5 times like they did for Ginger, but and you know, it would have felt better if they didn't do that, because who's to say that she wouldn't have still won if they didn't push her to win those 2 episodes that she didn't deserve? It should have been Joey and then it should have been Jasmine. Who knows? Who knows? And then the fact that she didn't have to participate the first round of lip syncs was like, ugh, come on. It's like, So I don't like the way that All Stars has started to go, where they're showing their hands. I wish they would let things happen organically and go from there. So I heard that All Stars 12 is doing the brackets again, but they're doing only 2 brackets. They're also having a couple more episodes, which will be nice to give queens more of a chance to earn their potential win in the season. But my goodness, I really look forward to when they stop, because it just doesn't make watching All Stars fun. Because now we're going to see cast announcements and go ahead and say who's probably going to win instead of just letting it play out naturally. But you know, always gonna love Drag Race. Glad that we have it. I just wish they would do better with how they produce the show, because at least leave us a little bit guessing. At least give us a little shock, and like a good shock, not a bad shock, or for who wins, who moves on. So there we go. Let me know if you agree. Let me know if you think other seasons had more push than I may have thought, or if you disagree, and talk to you later.